All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Timeline. It is the 2023 kickoff. Like all of the elite athletes you're watching right now, we needed an off season to rest, relax, vacation, and spend the enormous amount of money that we make on frivolous things. So we're back. We have a lot to talk about. A lot has been going on. But before we do all of that, we'll start with you, Drew. Drew, how are you doing, man? How's it been? It has been a couple of months since we last spoke on YouTube's.
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. It's good to see you guys. Glad we brought in our heavy free agent signing over here, so we're ready for this season. We splurged, and I think, what did we do? Double your salary, triple your salary from last time, Bill?
Yes, 3 times 0 is 0.
Then yes, Jesse, I got a haircut back in April, donated a bunch of that. I figured probably the last time in my life I'll be able to get enough hair to actually donate to a meaningful cause. So that's where we are. But yeah, happy to be back and looking forward to seeing what this season will shake out to look like for us. And thrilled for the folks that have been waiting for us to post this today. So awesome group there that can't wait to see what they've got for us tonight.
That's awesome, brother. Bill, we're going to you. Obviously, like Drew said, big free agent signing. I think we signed you to a 3-year contract that triple what you were getting paid. You weren't making enough, in our opinion, so we had to triple that and get you on the team. How's your off season been, man?
Oh, it's been good. Just staying busy during the summer. I do my music festivals and camping and all of that. So just kind of slowing down on that as we creep into Labor Day. And then we get fantasy football and NFL. So, good, exciting transition. It's for those of you who don't know, like every year I would sign up for Sling, and then you got to sign up for the sports package, so you can get Red Zone. And now NFL has it where you can just sign up for a monthly thing. And I think it's like $15 or something a month, and you can get Red Zone and you get the replays of the games and stuff like that. So quite the deal for, people who really just care about Red Zone and don't necessarily want to watch all the games, like, needing NFL Game Pass or something. So I think I signed up for the year and it cost like $80. So I figure I was going to sign up for the 4 months anyway, which was $60. So why not just spend $20 for the rest of the year? So that's my new exciting thing when it comes to watching football this year. And I got to watch some, and they do condensed games, which is really nice. So I watched the Lions preseason game when I got back from camping this weekend, and it took 34 minutes to watch the whole game, which is pretty sweet.
That's awesome.
That is
brought to you by NFL.com.
I love this, Jesse. Able to get Red Bone now. Hey.
Yeah, there we go.
This is a family show, Jesse. No, he
feel the same way with the new season approaching. Feel the same way.
Yeah, it's fun, man. Like, this is kind of, all right, we're moseying into week 3 of the preseason. We see the light at the end of that tunnel, right? Real games. We get to see the real players. I was lucky enough, my father-in-law is a Philadelphia Eagles season ticket holder, so I take my son every year to a preseason game just because it's a little less hectic. It's a little less, he enjoys the hell out of it. He loves it. We make a whole day out of it. And, so I do have a little bit of love for the preseason because I get to do that with my son. But let's face it, we're all here to watch the big boys play. And there's a lot to talk about. The last, 3 days have kind of been like, wow, here's a bunch of news, and news with players that we care about. It's not just, oh, hey, random third string quarterback goes 10 for 12 with a couple touchdowns. So let's start that off. Let's start it off with probably the biggest piece of news, which is the Jonathan Taylor situation. He wants out. He wasn't going to get let out. Then ownership told him he could seek a trade. And that was like yesterday or 2 days ago. And now they're telling him he needs to have it wrapped up by Tuesday. So it's like, okay, that's a thing. So instead of going through, literally every permutation of where he could go, I'm going to ask each of you 2 questions. I'll wrap it up at the end with my opinions. But on a scale of 1 to 10, does he get traded? And I'm talking about before the trade deadline for this season. And where would be your favorite spot for him to go strictly in terms of fantasy? So I started with Drew last question. So Bill, I will throw this your way first. Scale of 1 to 10, how likely does he get traded? And where would be your fantasy spot for Jonathan Taylor's fantasy value?
So the scale of 1 to 10, just before the trade deadline, I'm probably at like a 6. I just think that, he's playing as hard a ball as he can play, I guess. But like ultimately, it's going to get to the point, are they going to want to franchise him if they're already dealing with, this year? And I'm sure this is probably part of his goal of trying to force the hand. But I think that there's probably a decent chance that they'll hold on to him at least into the season, and then see who maybe loses a back, of a team that's contending. And that's probably the easiest way to go about it, I think, for them. Trading him now for like a 3rd rounder, they're not going to do that, right? So I don't know. I think this is just, he's stuck, right? And I can't imagine he's going to hold out, because if he holds out and then they don't trade him, he loses this year and he's back in the same spot he was this year. So where do I want to see him traded? I really don't know. I mean, there's really nobody that I think is like in a huge need that's like also a contender. Because at the end of the day, most of the teams that we see succeed aren't paying huge bucks to a running back. So I don't know. I could see somebody doing it if they lost their guy, but I just don't see anybody really getting that motivated. The closest thing I've heard for rumors is like Philly is even interested. And, I mean, that would be interesting. I mean, but like, Jesus, like everybody's fantasy darlings, people love Penny, people love Swift, even there's some Gainwell fans, and then all of a sudden here comes Jonathan Taylor. That'd be pretty crazy, and it would just completely destroy those guys. But
yeah, I totally agree with you, Bill. Philly would be a crazy spot. But Drew, let's kick it to you. Scale of 1 to 10, how likely is it do you think he gets traded? And then what would be your favorite spot for Jonathan Taylor's fantasy value?
Yeah, I think it's fairly likely. I would say I'm probably a little higher than Bill, maybe in a 7.5 range before the trade deadline, because of how long the season is and the likelihood of somebody getting injured along the way. As far as where I'd like to see him go for fantasy value, the Bills fan of me says anywhere in the NFC before the AFC. And then when you narrow that down, I'd love to see him go to like a Dallas or a Minnesota or something like that, where they've got a couple of replacement guys that should be the starters. And, if they don't pan out, maybe they don't perform as well as they were hoping to. Or, if Pollard starts to get worn down a little bit quickly, then I'd love to see him go and be in one of those spots with an elite offense around him otherwise. So those are probably the top 2 places that I would say, for the 3 or 4 places that I have him in fantasy, those would be the most exciting for me in those teams.
I love it. Before I get to my answer, just want to shout out a couple of people in the chat. That Fantasy Network 4th Round Lovers here. That's our safe league that Drew and I co-own a team in. Hoping to turn it around this year. Last year was not good for us. We we stunk it up pretty bad, but I think we rebound this year and we get it going. And then I love this one from Puff Pass Kick. Jets are going to sign Jonathan Taylor because of their hatred for fantasy football. That would be hilarious.
He does not need to be in the AFC East. Stay away from the AFC East.
That would be hilarious. All right, so Drew, I agree with you. I think likelihood is a 7. It just seems like all of a sudden Jim Irsay wants him out, said go find a trade partner. And apparently I saw something on Twitter today that 6 teams have inquired about him and 2 teams have made offers. It sounds like those 2 teams may be Miami and Philadelphia, or they just may be 2 of the 6 teams that have called to inquire. But I think it's a 7. And then Drew stole my thunder a little bit. I think Dallas would be the best spot for the fantasy value. We kind of saw what they did with Zeke. Let's run until he can't run anymore. Last year, we saw the split between him and Pollard, and I think that was because Zeke's legs just weren't there anymore. We'll see what happens with Zeke in New England. But I think that would be the spot where we've kind of seen the team use a running back for that fantasy goodness where it's like, all right, he's going to get the majority of the touches, whether it's in the run game, whether it's in the pass game, he's going to be out there all the time. So that would be my pick. But that was that was a good little discussion. We'll move on. And I'll just say this, we don't even have to talk about it. Corey Davis retiring, kind of out of nowhere. He seemed like he was in line maybe to be wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 there, but he decided he had enough and he was out. So shout out to Corey Davis. I remember when he was going 101 the year that he came out, and his career never matched that, but he had some games. He had some moments. So shout out Corey Davis. I know you're watching, and have fun, brother. 28 years old, I believe, and retiring with millions of dollars. So if he
good on him.
If he's been doing his life right, he's got enough money to never have to work a day again, which is pretty dang cool. Here's the other piece of big news that kind of broke today. Trey Lance, he is going to be QB3 for the San Francisco 49ers behind Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy and everyone's favorite ghost hunter, Sam Darnold. So I'll ask a question again, and we'll switch up the order. I'll figure out an order on the fly here. Does Trey Lance have any fantasy value? We're talking dynasty, obviously, but like, if you had him, what would you want for him? Are you even trying to buy him? Drew, I'll let you go first. What would you take for him, and are you even trying to buy him right now?
I'll answer that in reverse order. I would take him as a throw-in in pretty much any trade if I can get him, and I will let him sit there for another season or 2, see if he gets traded, see if he gets picked up somewhere that has maybe some opportunity ahead of him. I see Jesse here in the chat saying he feels bad for him. I'm starting to agree. I think I avoided him for so long initially, but at this point, the guy hasn't even had really a fair shot at anything based on his health and some of the circumstances there in San Fran. So I'd love to see him get a shot maybe next year somewhere. But as far as what I would take for him, I have a couple teams with him on the roster, and I don't. It's one of those. I'm never going to get what I want to move him because I'm just going to be more patient to hang out and wait and see what happens. So, and I think the moment that he gets anywhere near, maybe a second plus in value, like if there's any kind of hope that he might move that direction, then I'll probably take that. But I think if he gets value, he's going to gain a lot of value real quick. So I don't know that we'll have a big window to kind of move like a first wave and then a second wave. So short answer is I'm hanging on to him if I can. If my team somehow gets instantly loaded with starters and I have to move him, that's fine. But the teams that I have him on, I earned those picks to get him. So I'm probably going to be hanging on to him for a little bit here.
Yeah. I think if I had him, I think I'd take any second for him at this point. I mean, look, I hear a lot of people saying, well, look at, Sam Darnold, look at Geno Smith. I think Geno Smith is kind of the high end of that guy who flamed out, bounced around for a while, and then kind of made a resurgence last year. But is that the norm? No. I mean, and Puff Pass Kick says that, Sam Darnold is this year's Geno Smith, which the way injuries go down in San Francisco, I'm sure Sammy D is going to start a couple games. That team can never keep their stars healthy for 17. So I'm sure we will see some Sam Darnold this year. But, what's the outlook? Maybe he has to start some games because both Purdy and Darnold go down. But I just feel like for him to bounce back up in value, a lot needs to happen. And I don't like trying to bank on that kind of stuff. Now, I also agree with you, Drew. I'm probably keeping him because no one is going to, no one's going to give me anything of real value in order to take them off my hands. I only have one share of them, and it's on a rebuilding team. So it's kind of like, all right, if Trey Lance doesn't do anything, it's just helping me gain a higher pick. And if he does kind of ball out, then maybe I can trade him for way more than I thought I would. But yeah, unfortunately, I think, he's probably going to get, maybe traded somewhere, right? Maybe. But even then, what is he? I've heard the Vikings a lot, trade him, let him sit behind Kirk Cousins. But okay, cool. Like, are we guaranteeing that once Kirk Cousins' contract is up, he slides right in? I don't think we can guarantee that at this point. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not looking to acquire him. Obviously, like Drew said, if someone just throws him in and I go, okay, I like this deal anyway without Trey Lance and he's a part of it, sure, I'll take him. Why not? But, yeah, give me any second for Trey Lance and I'll be good with it. And if he's a throw-in, fine, I'll take him, but I'm not going to actively go out searching for him. Bill, we'll wrap it up for you. What do you want for him if you have him, and what would you be willing to give up, if anything?
I don't have any of him. I mean, honestly, he's just a guy I don't think we're going to see moved a whole lot, because everybody's still kind of holding on to the upside, and exactly like what you said about just not necessarily having a fair shake at, starting. He gets hurt. The first game was in that crazy wind in Chicago. Just a lot of things are working against him a little bit, and so I don't know. I mean, I'm interested to see. I think we're going to see him being moved for like third rounders, but at that point, it's just not even worth, getting rid of him because of the potential upside. And then I'm not necessarily sure he's getting traded. Because like next year he's like guaranteed like $5 million. Like who's going to trade for a guy that and give up anything worth, any NFL team going to give up anything of value for a guy who, you're going to be stuck with that bill. I mean, I guess you could cut him, right? But you're still giving up the pick. So yeah, it's a tough situation for him. Like you hope he gets a chance somewhere else, but once those guys get cut from their first team, it's like too easy for the next team to let him go, right? Like they don't have to spend that roster space on him and hope he, gets better or improves. So, I don't know. It's a tough situation for him. It's, I just don't see, I think we're going to see a lot of people holding on to him just because of what they'll be able to get back for him. It's going to totally be a throw in trades, I think.
Yeah. And just to kind of take this home, I think a trade is going to be hard for Trey Lance because over the next 2 years, he has over $20 million in cap hit. It's about $20.1 million. And if you cut him this year, it's a $20 million dead cap hit. And if you cut him next year, it's almost an $11 million cap hit, which I'm sure some teams won't mind the $11 million cap hit. They'll just take it. But yeah, here's an interesting point. We'll go through this real quick. What about Washington? Personally, I think they like Sam Howell. From everything I'm hearing from reports, they like Sam Howell. They are going to give him the chance to start and see what happens. But they also have Jacoby Brissett, and we've seen Jacoby Brissett in, small sample sizes throughout a season be serviceable, not elite, but he has more of a track record than Trey Lance. As crazy as that sounds, he has more of a track record of, playing the quarterback position and winning games in the NFL. So Washington would be interesting. Maybe it would be kind of the splash deal that the new Washington ownership would want to make, but
Tampa.
Oh, what a fun cocktail that would be. Baker Mayfield, Trey Lance, and Kyle Trask. Sounds like a joke where they all walk into a bar. But
you got to just pick teams that don't have any, there's zero issues of like impediments to like potentially starting, right? Like his talent might just be that much greater than Baker Mayfield's experience. You know what I mean? And at some point they might just say, well, fuck it. Like, we suck this year, let's just trade for him and see what he has. And we can just cut him at the end of the year if we have to.
And I wonder if this turns into almost kind of like, remember when Jimmy Garoppolo got traded from New England to San Francisco, where your guy goes down, you look at your backup and you go, ooh, I don't know if I like that. And you go, well, Trey Lance is available. Let's give it a whirl. We probably only have to give up like a sixth and make San Francisco eat some of that contract. And we can, at least try him out and say that we're trying. We saw Los Angeles last year get to the point where they brought Baker Mayfield in, who had been cut by the Carolina Panthers just because they were looking at what they had. They were on their third or fourth guy, and they were like, well, this looks kind of gross. We'll just sign Baker Mayfield and see what happens. So it's all possibilities, but, man, I think it's going to be a tough one. So let's see. Is there any other news? I feel like there was one more thing I wanted to talk about. The Raiders are saying that they don't want to they're not going to trade Josh Jacobs, and Josh Jacobs is saying that's cool, but I'm not showing up because I want one of them contracts that are getting passed around. That'll be an interesting one to see what's going on. Jackson Smith and Jigba. He got a little break in his wrist, but it seems like he may be able to start week one. I think this brings down some of his value. Are you out there trying to see if someone will panic trade him, or is this just kind of one of those things where you let it go and you don't even waste your time with it?
I don't think a couple people. I'll ask. Yeah, I'll ask a couple folks, but I think most of the leagues that we're in are folks that are pretty in tune with what's going on. So, if we get lucky somewhere, then great. It doesn't take a ton of time to throw a couple of messages at somebody or throw a couple of trades at someone, but I highly doubt I'll be able to snag them below value anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, like who's gonna trade him? You know what I mean? Like, because if you're a rebuilding team and he gets hurt, like it doesn't matter. And if you're a contending team, odds are JSN, isn't one of your best players at this point, and his upside, and you're probably a decent player and understand that this is just a blip, and you don't want to react and sell one of these, especially this time of year. I mean, if he broke his wrist like in week 8 or 9 and you need a starter, that's a different story. But there's really no reason for anybody to sell him.
Yeah, I mean, I have a few shares of JSN. Don't even bother. I mean, not with a low ball offer anyway. I mean, I took him over Jamar Gibbs in a couple of drafts, and I know Jamar Gibbs is now, our Lord and Savior. But yeah, exactly. But I still took JSN over him because that was the way I did it pre-draft, and I usually don't let draft position and teams sway me all that much. So I still think JSN is going to be a beast, and it might take 3 to 4 weeks for him to kind of get back to where he normally would have been, but I think he balls out after that. So I'm not worried. Don't come at me with a low ball offer. You're not going to get my JSNs. So last but not least, Terry McLaurin has an injury. If you listen to Ron Rivera, it's not that bad, but it could also be kind of bad. So we'll take that for what it's worth. So is it Jahan Dotson season? Because I know as soon as it came out, oh my God, it's Jahan Dotson season. And now it seems like he could be there for week 1. Might take him a couple of weeks to get back in the swing of things. But listen, it's August 23rd. We're kind of gearing into the season. Is it maybe time to, look at this news and say, maybe I need a couple of Jahan Dotsons? I know a friend of the show, Bobby Koch, would say yes, because he was, I think he was Jahan Dotson's #1 fan last year in the pre-draft process. So, I'll start. I think Jahan Dotson's going to be a baller, man. I think he's going to be real good, especially for a Washington team that behind Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin, do they have any weapons that scare you? Not really. I mean, they have some running back combination of Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson. They have tight ends. Couldn't pick them out of the lineup, but they're there. They're on the roster. So it's kind of like if the first couple of weeks are the Jahan Dotson show, and Sam Howell and Jahan Dotson have looked like they've had a really good chemistry throughout training camp and the preseason. Are you guys going in and trying to pick up? What do you guys think? Bill, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily know that it's going to change a whole lot for him. I mean, they have Curtis Samuel too. And I mean, usually when he plays, he's at least some sort of participant. You know what I mean? He's not like a guy that they're not going to look at. So I think that I would almost rather just buy the cheap Curtis Samuel if I'm thinking that McLaurin's going to miss than to pay up for an inflated Dotson price right now. I'd almost rather, if I really like Dotson, I'd almost prefer to wait till McLaurin's back, let people kind of go, he's going to start losing some of his volume, and then I try to make a move then. So yeah, I think if I believe that McLaurin's going to be out for a while, according to Ron Rivera and his pretty much what we expected, description of the injury, but not really. I think I'd just rather try to roll the dice on maybe a lower cost guy and hope that maybe that bumps up a little bit and I can get some points from him rather than paying up for Dotson.
I like that. What do you think, Drew? Is it Is it Jahan Dotson season? Are you running out there and trying to get some shares?
It might be his season for a little bit here, but I agree with Bill. If you were in on him, you already had him because you could have gotten him probably way cheaper last off season, and that's when you were trying to add him onto your roster. And I don't know that anybody truly believes he's the elite talent where you buy even on the upswing here. So yeah, I don't know if you're going out, if you feel like you missed the boat. I love Bill's idea of wait until McLaurin's back to see, or, you know, even if Curtis Samuel pops for a couple of weeks and they start to maybe run the ball more or something. But yeah, no, I'm not going out and throwing a bunch of offers, partially because I'm just not a huge believer, which I don't know. I know Bobby's pretty smart, so maybe I'm missing something here. But yeah, I think if you liked him, you would have had him by now, and this is not the best time to go and get him.
Well, and not only do you have to believe in him, you have to believe in Sam Howell, right? So, like, those are a couple of things that I think you're kind of, concerned about two different situations. And
very true.
It's almost like I would feel more comfortable if Brissett was in there in an odd way, so there's just a few things that could potentially be an issue that that's going to prohibit me from doing any of that kind of stuff.
Great points. And that's why I love having you guys on, because you guys go next level and think about things I didn't think about. So that's awesome. So that's the news. I think we talked through pretty much all of the big talking points. We'll leave the little stuff for maybe some other people, but we got a couple questions on the timeline, which I always love to see, because we love answering questions and just kind of talking through this stuff. We're just three good friends talking stuff out. So this is a question we got from Jesse Schott, who's in the chat. Awesome. Drew and I co-own a team in Dynasty Junkies 2. He's in that league as well, and it's always a good time in the chat with him. So he wants to know, what is your value on Kenny Pickett? Getting a crap load of offers for him. Man, what a change 365 days makes, because I don't know if anybody was getting a crap load of offers for Kenny Pickett last year. But preseason he very limited sample size. I think he's thrown 11 passes in all of preseason, but he's looked good. Camp reports are saying he's looking good. Maybe this is the sophomore breakout for Kenny Pickett. So what is your value on Kenny Pickett? I will start this one off. My perception of Kenny Pickett hasn't changed all that much, and I wasn't a huge fan of him last year. As far as the quarterback position goes, I'm not a huge fan of him this year. Some of his talent limitations are an issue for me, but that Matt Canada offense, like that will cause my heart to stop much sooner than all of the fried food that I eat. I mean, it's hard to watch. It's painful to watch sometimes. And you're like, why are they running this offense when they have good position players on the field? Najee Harris is a good player. Jaylen Warren is getting a lot of preseason hype for his explosive plays. They have Deontay Johnson. They have Pickens. They have Pat Freiermuth at tight end. And then you just watch this Matt Canada offense, and you're like, well, hey, how can we waste 5 good players at once? Well, let's run Matt Canada's offense. So for those two reasons, my value is kind of where it is. Like, he's a okay QB2 and Superflex. I mean, I wouldn't rush out to try to get him based on this hype, but if you're getting a bunch of offers and they're like really good offers, and I'm going to throw that to you guys, like, what's your value on them? But like, what would be a good offer for Kenny Pickett? Like, what would you say? All right, I have Kenny Pickett on a team, and I would trade him for this because I have 0 shares of Kenny Pickett, so I don't think I'm qualified to kind of give this answer. So, Drew, why don't you start us off?
Well, I'm looking at DLF here, and I'm just looking at back at July. There's only one Superflex trade that they have logged for August with Kenny Pickett involved. But there's one back here in one of the safe leagues, which I think we're all pretty familiar with, 12-team PPR Superflex. Somebody traded Kenny Pickett on July 15th. Now, this is 6 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago. And the poor person got Trey Lance back. Now, there's no way you'd ever know. But even then, I feel like that had to be a huge risk, huge reward kind of a move. But a couple other interesting ones here. A Treylon Burks in a 12-team PPR Superflex for Kenny Pickett. That feels probably pretty on par or in line. This is an interesting one here back in July as well. So post rookie draft, Kenneth Walker and a 24 first for Kenny Pickett and Michael Pittman, which is an interesting combo on both sides there, depending on what you're looking for. But yeah, as of right now, Kenny Pickett, it seems like his value is trending up a little bit. So, I'm pouncing on any kind of future first that I can get. And if there's a small sweetener involved, I'll take it. Or if I can push for it, I'll take it. Player wise, you're looking at the rankings. He's still ranked pretty low for most of our Superflex quarterbacks here. But yeah, I don't know. I've got him in, I think, one league. Last year I traded him and Justin Fields for Jalen Hurts and something else. I don't remember what something else was. But it took me a little while to do that because, as you know, I love me some Justin Fields. But other than that, I've only got him in one league. So I'm curious to see if I'll get some offers, and I'll keep you updated.
Yeah, you'll have to let us know how the Pickett sale goes. This is a great one from Bob Gilchrist. Love you, Bob. I would take Pickett for Lance. At least there's still hope in Lance. Hey, God bless you. I mean,
Bob's gonna get like a bunch of offers.
Bob's playing chess over here with some of the folks in his leagues.
I have seen on Twitter today though that a lot of the people that love Lance are still loving Lance and they're trading seconds to get him. So those people are still, it's not like Bob is on an island here where he's the only person that has hope in Lance. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter today. I traded a second, or I traded a second for Lance and a third type deals. So I definitely think there are still, the people who liked him. I shouldn't say like the people who loved him are still loving him, and that's where it gets interesting. Like, if you love him, you love him. So there you go, Jesse. I don't know what kind of offers you're getting. If you're still in the chat, you can let us know some of them, and maybe we can go through them together. But while we're doing that, we got another one from Kenny at Dynasty Beach Boy. He traded Luke Musgrave and Tank Bigsby for Michael Pittman. Thoughts? So that's an interesting one. A couple of rookies for Michael Pittman. So, Bill, how do you feel about that? Which side do you like more?
Yeah, those rookies are fun, right? Like, I've never been a Pittman guy. So like, I mean, if I'm just looking at it, removing value from the conversation, like I'm totally happy with making that trade, I think. But I just feel like, Pittman probably has more value than that. I'm pretty sure this isn't a league I'm in, actually. So, yeah. But no, I mean, I think, I'm really high on Musgrave. Like I drafted a ton of them. Bigsby's looking solid, right? Like, I mean, I'm not necessarily sure what the expectation is for him, but he could be like, a pretty solid 2. Oh yeah, JPip is the other side of that trade, getting Pittman, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, I get wanting to make that trade because I honestly prefer those 2 players compared to Pittman, but I just feel like I probably would have asked for something else on top, whether it's just a throw-in pick or an upgraded pick from a 3 to a 2 or something, something like that. But yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, get your guys. And I mean, I don't think this is going to be a trade that ends up like destroying either of the teams. Right. So, if Musgrave hits, man, that's, I think that, if you're it is a tight end premium league. So that could be a positive thing, but, it's a timeline league.
Is it really? Why did I not see this?
Oh my god,
the email.
That's fucking hilarious. You knuckleheads didn't even know it's in our OG league. Jeez.
I didn't see the email come through. I'm a little ticked off about
that. That's really
hilarious.
Funny. That is really funny.
I promise we know what we're doing.
Hey, we've been out. We're out of practice here, so that is really fucking funny.
Did either of you guys see the email?
I did see the email. Well, yeah, because I said I knew it was in a league I was in. So
you did say that. I mean, it's a league we're all in.
But I meant,
hilarious.
Kenny and JPip are in multiple leagues with me, so it's
True that.
I didn't look to see what league it was in.
That's awesome. I'll say this, and this is going to upset the man that writes our checks, Russ Dynasty Outhouse, who loves Michael Pittman. I've not ever been a Michael Pittman guy, but I think in this situation, I take Pittman. But Bill, I think you're absolutely right. If Luke Musgrave kind of hit some of the hype that's been put on him, it could definitely swing to the other side. By the end of this season, it'll be interesting to see once the games count what the offense looks like with Jordan Love behind center. Is he going to pepper these tight ends because they're kind of the safety blanket and occasionally go over the top to Christian Watson. That'll be fun to see. But yeah, I think I would go Pittman here. I like the trade, but I mean, there's definitely a way where we talk about this in 365 days, like Kenny Pickett, and go, well, things have changed a little bit. Now it's Luke Musgrave and Tank Bigsby. But I want to throw this one up here real quick because Jesse did hit us with one of his with one of the trades. He said his most enticing one is Dotson, who we spoke about earlier, and Kenny Pickett for Bryce Young and Mr. Elijah Moore. And we've loved him for a long time. We've been here through the downs, and it looks like maybe with the Browns, we're going to be seeing some of the ups now. So in that situation, and I'll recap it just in case, we got Dotson and Pickett for Young and Moore. So,
give me Young and Moore.
I'm with you. I think Young and Moore as well.
I mean, Young's going to have all the runway as the 101, and I like Elijah Moore more than I liked Dotson, and I mean, he's tied to, like Bill's point earlier, Elijah Moore is tied to Deshaun Watson now. I mean, I know there could be numerous targets there, but I'll take that shot. And I've liked Elijah Moore since he came out a lot more than I liked Dots when he came out. So yeah, that one for me is pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So Jesse, all of us 3 for 3 on the Young and Moore side. I think Young has some interesting weapons there as well, and I think obviously, as we proceed over the next 2 to 3 years, I think all Carolina's going to do is try to strengthen that core. So that was good. I'm glad we got that in real time. I love kind of the real time feel of it. So I want to switch over. I actually have a couple of bookmark tweets on my other account because a couple of people said, "Hey, I got questions. Do you mind asking them?" So I said, "Yeah, why not? Let's do that thing." And so just give me a second to pull on up because my computer is now moving slowly. Okay, perfect. Excuse me. So we got one from here from our DAP Network brother, good friend of the show, Andrew Hall. He dropped this in a chat that you and I are in, but he also had a tweet, Drew. So here we go. He traded. We have a trade here. So this is a 12-team Superflex PPR Dynasty League. And I love the context, and we also get more context, which sometimes we get, sometimes we don't. This is a rebuild team. Okay, so we'll keep that in mind as we talk about it. We have Aaron Jones or McCorkle Jones and Chuba Hubbard. So, Drew, if you need a little time to think about that, let me know. And I could definitely start off first, or if you got some thoughts.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm fine. Yeah, I'm pretty ambivalent around Mac Jones. I mean, he's a starting quarterback. We'll see what he does with some of the weapons he has now. See what another year in the system looks like. But Chuba Hubbard doesn't do a whole lot for me either or. So yeah, I mean, I'm good moving a veteran running back for a younger player that could accrue more value and probably won't lose a lot more value. I know in 12-team leagues, quarterback you can get fairly easy compared to some of the larger leagues that we might be in, but I like that. I think that's certainly a fine move if you're rebuilding to move on from Aaron Jones and get Mac Jones plus another small piece. And yeah, if Mac Jones has a good season or a good part of the season, you may be able to transfer that into something more valuable for next year, whether it's a draft pick or maybe another younger player that gets injured that you're excited about. So yeah, I'm fine with that for a rebuilding team. I would take the Mac Jones side probably if that was offered to me.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I actually voted on this when I saw the tweet come up. Right now, with 73 votes, 53% for Aaron Jones, 47% for the Mac Jones side. Listen, it's a rebuild. You got a young quarterback in the Superflex League. Cool. If he's your, number one this year, because it's a rebuild, and that gets you, closer to the top two quarterbacks in the 2024 draft so far, and he bumps down to your second QB at that time. Awesome. Like, cool. And if not, who knows? A contender gets a quarterback injury or two, and now all of a sudden, McCorkle has a little value. So I like that. I think Aaron Jones is going to eat this year because of the Jordan Love-led offense. They're gonna put a lot of stock into the run game, and if you're trying to rebuild, having an old guy getting you a bunch of points is not the way to go about doing that. So, give me McCorkle, give me the Canadian crusher, Chuba Hubbard, and let's rebuild this thing. What do you think, Bill? Are you going with, in this trade, it is a 12-team Superflex PPR league. Andrew's team is in a rebuild. Are you going Aaron Jones, or are you going McCorkle and Chuba Hubbard?
I think I'll go Mac Jones. I just think Aaron. Didn't you say Mac Jones? And I was thrown off for a second. I'm like, did I misunderstand this question? So I think it just, in the rebuild, it makes it really easy. You just want to get those old. I mean, I think Aaron Jones is going to be 29 this year. So it's like, when you have the opportunity to even flip a player like that and get him off your team for something that potentially could have value, and you could even, if you don't like him, you could flip him for something else, you know? So I just think that there's more paths to gaining value by taking the Mac Jones side.
Agree. 28-year-old Aaron Jones, who will be 29 in December. So I agree with you. And let's face it, they have put some tread on those tires. So yeah, I'm with you. I like that one. I like that one a bunch. So we got a little bit of time. So fellas, I was hoping that you could help me. Got some trades here in some real leagues that I'm in that are sitting in the box. I have to dust the box off because it's been a couple days. Some dust is collected. We're going to start out easy. We're going to start out with some trades that don't push the needle too much, but it'll get our brains working, and then maybe we'll get into some deeper trades here. So this is a team that I own by myself, but Drew is in this league. It is the sleeper league we're in together, Drew, and got a big time trade here. So I would have to give a 2024 fourth, and I would get a guy that we talked about the last time we had a show, Malik Davis, third string running back. I think I looked at our lads earlier. Malik Davis, running back from Dallas, and Peyton Hendershot, also a tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to go on our lads right now and see where he is in the pecking order, because I will tell you the truth. They're my team, and I don't know. And according to our lads, he's a third string tight end right now. So that is the first one, and I'm bringing that up for one reason, just to get us slowly started in, but also because it's from our boy Puff Pass Kick, who's in the chat right now. So I want to give him some love, and that's one trade. And then the second trade he offered me, Deontay Hardy, the aforementioned Malik Davis, and Peyton Hendershot for a third. So I do want to read the note he left me afterwards. He said, you want to take that Deontay Hardy, Josh Allen stack. I have Josh Allen in this league that nobody is talking about yet. Plus Malik and Peyton from them boys, all for a measly third round pick. Come on, Josh. Now I'll say this. This is the type of message you send with a trade, because it's all in good fun. It kind of makes the person that you're trading with smile a little bit. They know you're joking around. They know you're trying to have a good time with it. And it's not a real sales pitch. It's not like, hey, Deontay Hardy's going to be the number one this year. He is. You're just BSing with Stephon Diggs and all that. No. It's good. Like, he's not trying to sell me. He's having a good time with it. This is the way you send a message in a trade. Make the other guy smile a little bit. Make him laugh a little bit. And who knows? Maybe if they're on the fence, they're like, you know what? This is a good guy. I'll make the trade. I was on the fence, but I like him. Don't be the other guy that's trying to tell you the reason why all your guys stink and all their guys are great and why you should make the trade. That was just a PSA for me. But What do you think about either one of those trades? Malik Davis and Hendershot for a fourth, or Hendershot, Davis, and Deontay Hardy for a third? I'll let you go first, Bill, because Drew may try to poison my team here.
Is there any context to like if there's cuts or anything like that?
No. What? Well, I would be getting the players and just giving up a pick. So, yeah, I would probably have to cut some people to make this happen. So let me go into my squad real quick.
Well, I mean, if there's anybody you like, the answer is no. Like, I mean, I just feel like you can use those picks to trade for something during the season. Like you need a spot start. You know what I mean? Like, why take on additional players if you don't like the upgrade? You know, enough that like, you know, maybe you can get like I don't know, Deonta Foreman that's going to start 1 week or something, you know, during the season, and you'll know he's starting. Unless you truly believe that Malik Davis is going to end up being the number 2, which I don't know how you can know that when there's like 3 guys that actually could be that, you know what I mean? And I think I recall last time we spoke that you were saying that they liked Dowdle more than
Rico Dowdle, yeah.
So, and then they draft Deuce Vaughn, who's, you know, gonna do a little bit too. So
the deuce is loose.
Yeah, I'm probably not doing that. I mean, the Deontay Hardy one is actually kind of interesting. Like just you know, like he's a player that I'm interested in having as like a bottom, you know, like at the bottom of my roster, just to see if he ends up, you know, overtaking Shakir and kind of being their slot guy. But I don't think he's anybody I'm ever going to give a pickup for.
Yeah. I will give some context. I do think this team is a contender, and it's a 14-teamer. So that fourth would, I believe, would be late. Obviously, anything can happen throughout the season, but I was in the playoffs last year. I think I made it to the semifinals. So,
well, a worst case, it would be like the 43rd pick in that, you know what I mean? So, like, if in a 14-teamer, like even if you finished last,
right? Exactly.
So
that I just want to throw that context in there, but I didn't think about it like that, so I like that point of view, and that's why I talk to you guys. All right, Drew, try to poison my team here since we're in this league together. What do you think about these 2 trades?
The benches are deep, so if you have the room, I don't see a problem with either one of them. If you like the idea of Hardy, if he's kind of the one that we focus on, then, you know, is he worth moving from a 4th to a 3rd here? I'd have to look and see what you have for. I think you just have your standard 5 rounds, right? You haven't added any additional picks that I can tell. But at that point, like Bill said, yeah. So like Bill said, you know, each of those is pushed back a little further with a 14-teamer. And yeah, if Hardy's the interesting piece, then I don't know. I'd negotiate around that. Is he worth a 4th if you think it's going to be late? Just do that. And then you're not forced to look at other cuts. So yeah, I mean, really, it's do you have to take the package to get the one piece you really want, or can you negotiate for the one piece that is most interesting to you?
Yeah, and honestly, I would probably take the first deal, just Davis and Hendershot for the 4th, because I mean, God, those. When you're in the draft and you're making those picks, you're like, oh God, what am I doing here? I don't even know who these guys are. Yeah, this is an undrafted free agent from, you know, San Francisco State. You know, I've never even heard of this guy. I've never seen him play. You know, so, you know, I mean, I have some. It's funny because we're talking about late round picks. I have some late round picks kind of on this team that I just because I couldn't get rid of the damn picks. I mean, I have what's this guy's name? I just had him here. Now Josh Wiley. I think he was my 5th round pick. He's like the 3rd or 4th string tight end for Tennessee. So I do have some guys. Hell, I have Allen Robinson on this team. I have the corpse of Allen Robinson still running around on this team. So that would be the only trade I would consider taking. Because I'm kind of with Bill with the trade that involves a third. I feel like a third could get me, that Deonta Foreman 1 week where, I have buys or I have injuries and I just need him for that 1 week to get me through and have a guy that might get some points, on the board for me type deal. A fourth, I think, is a little harder to do that with because there are 14 teams. So, most people, even if it's a guy they just picked up off the waiver wire, are like, I need a third in this situation. So I have Bill giving me the deeper look on it, and Drew giving me if you like the guys, make it. Who cares about the 4th round pick? So I might take that trade. I might take that Malik Davis, Peyton Hendershot trade. I'm not going to hit yes on it right now because I just want to kind of look through my team and see. I'm going to have to make a couple cuts, so want to make sure I make the right cuts. But I think I'm going to take that one. Fortunately, Deontay Hardy does not do it for me to bump it up to a third. So, wait a minute. I heard there are other options.
We got new options.
Wow. We'll have to talk after this and see. I mean, I was getting ready to ball up for that pick, but if there's other options, I mean, I have to look at the team and see. I'm trying to win the whole damn thing this year, so which would be funny because I commissioned this league for like 3 years. This was a COVID league, and I said I was going to drop out of the commissioner's chair on this one, and if someone wanted to take it over, and Jay Money actually took it over as commissioner, so the league stayed intact, and we were able to keep it going, which I'm actually very happy about because it's a good league, a lot of good people. So, Drew, I'm going to let you start off on this one because this is in the OG league. So Bill and I own this team. I know where Bill stands. I know where I stand, but I just want to get your thoughts on it.
Whatever makes your team worse.
Whatever makes my team right. So this is from someone else in the chat, J Pip, who is making deals in the OG league that none of us know about, apparently. One, Ezekiel Elliott, the newest New England Patriot, and Christopher Godwin for a guy that we talked about earlier, Jackson Smith and Jigba. So we would be getting the Zeke Godwin side, and we would be giving up the JSN side. Tell me what you think, Drew.
I can't in good conscience tell you to take that. Let me find your team here. I mean, from what I recall, you guys are pretty deep in wide receiver. So this goes back to the chat earlier. You all are in good shape with wide receivers where you can let him sit if he is injured for a few more weeks, let him get healthy. I mean, you would need, you have Jonathan Taylor, who is a little bit of a question mark right now. Montgomery in a different situation. Gibson, who's sharing a backfield. Jamal Williams, who may start a couple of weeks here while Kamara's out. So I would need something more compelling at running back than Zeke to make that interesting at all for me. But I mean, y'all are sitting on Jamar Chase, Deontay, CD, Elijah Moore, and Devonta Smith. Jameson Williams coming back from suspension at some point. So, I mean, honestly, Williams and JSN could sit out till week 7 or 8 for you guys before they hit 100%, and you'd be fine. So I think for your team in this league, you need to have a pretty significant running back upgrade for JSN based on what his potential should be if you're going to consider moving anything there. So
I like J Pip with the salesmanship here. He's like wide receiver 6 on your team. Why do you need him, right? Why do you need him? I do want to give John credit for this, though. I feel like this is the type of trade that you start out with. Hey, like everybody knows who Chris Godwin is, right? He didn't just say, here's Zeke and Tyler Boyd. JSN's hurt, trade him away. It's at least a name people know. So I think it's kind of like a good start where it's like, okay, like you're probably not going to take this deal, but I also don't want you to think I'm coming in with my first deal and completely trying to screw you, because I feel like when people do that, when it's just like so lopsided, you don't even want to look at who you have to trade away to get this mess. It kind of leaves a sour taste in certain people's mouths. So, I mean, Bill, I'm going to make a big assumption here that you would put a no on this one.
I already rejected it.
Oh, he already rejected it. Goodbye. It will not be.
I'm looking at John's team though, so not that this is anywhere in the realm of possibility for John, but if you're looking at like let's change out Zeke and make it Javonte and Godwin for JSN and maybe like a late round future pick,
like a 2025 fourth or a 2024 fourth, excuse me.
Yeah, that or maybe a third. Bump it up a little bit where it feels like semi-significant.
Oh, stop giving away our 1 week rentals. Them third round picks are for those 1 week rentals.
So props to John though. Also, when he makes offers, he usually will send you like 2 or 3 combinations of trade offers. That's something I try to do if I see something. It just makes it, gives people options to maybe build something off of one of those. And I think we've come to some trades that way. And I feel like the percentage of trades I make when I send out multiple options is higher than if I just send like one. Yeah. So I feel like that's something that more people need to do, just to show that they're willing to, they're not locked in on a particular player, that they're willing to kind of do different things to make something happen.
Yeah, and I like being in a league with John, because John is going to send you a bunch of offers, and B, you're probably going to reject a lot of offers, but like when you get that deal done, you just like feel like, man, he got a good deal, I got a good deal, and I've never left a trade with him saying, I got smoked on this one, or I really smoked him. Like, you kind of were just like, hey, I'm happy with what I got. I think he's happy with what I gave up. And those are the type of deals I like the most, are those deals where everybody wins. But John, I'm sorry. Wide receiver 6 is still staying on the squad. He's gonna, when our guys get old, which the funny part is we really don't have old guys on our team. So, oh, here we go. Javonte and Zeke. I don't think you heard Drew correctly. You got to let Zeke just go into the old age home on your team. Now, like Drew said, if you want to do Javonte and Chris Godwin and maybe Zeke as a throw-in, maybe Bill and I will talk about that. I really like JSN. So, Bill, I don't know your feelings about him. I mean, obviously, I know you like him, but like, I'm a big JSN guy, so it would. I think it would be hard for me. I think it would be hard for me to say yes to that. But
yeah, I just don't like trading for running backs, to be honest with you. Like, I'm so not the guy who's going to trade to make sure my lineup's strong for week 1. Like, I'd rather bank the value in young wide receivers or quarterbacks in Superflex, which obviously this league we are not doing that. But like, I'd just rather do that than to get running backs I'm not super confident in. Like, I mean, we would, before the season, we would be confident in Jonathan Taylor, and now like we're looking at a roster going, probably the player I'm most confident now in our running back room is David Montgomery. Like, it's, so it's just one of those things that's like, I'd rather just wait and see what I need or if I need, as we move into the season. And I guess, I'm probably not that guy that's, we've been through this enough times to just know that, like, trying to make your lineup look pretty to start the season, it backfires more than we think. And it's just better to make those decisions when you have more information further into the season, in my opinion.
No, I mean, you bring up some really good points there. And I listen, love Zeke. He was on my squad for a long time, did a lot of great things, but look at this salesmanship. Monty and Gibson are your starters. We still got Jonathan Taylor. I think whether he stays or he goes, he's going to be just fine. So I'll still count him as a starter, my friend.
Jim Irsay has entered the chat. That's a good one.
But a couple of us have got to get out of here in a minute. So let's do one more trade. And now we're going to flip. We're going to switch it up a little bit. This is a team that Drew and I own together in Dynasty Junkies #2. So we would get Amari Cooper, a 2024 first round pick, and a 2025 second round pick for one CD Lamb. What do you think about that, Bill?
It's interesting. I mean, any guess as to where that team is located or potential, like, is it late?
That first, I will say, to give you context while I kind of look at that team and see what it's all about, we are probably rebuilding this team. So if that gives you any context on...
You talking about the safe leagues, or you're talking about junkies?
Junkies.
Okay, junkies. Okay, I got to switch over to the right one here because junkies.
Oh, I was gonna say, if you don't think we're rebuilding in that one, let me know, because I thought we were rebuilding that bad boy, because our quarterbacks, they're not good. They're not good in that one. And
do we have a starting one? We don't. No, maybe we
no.
don't.
We have Ryan Tannehill. Calm it down. We have Ryan Tannehill. Ain't nobody on that team proved anything. We have Ryan Tannehill.
So I don't mind trading CeeDee Lamb. I'm not sure I want to make that trade to add a 29-year-old wide receiver. So that's probably the biggest issue. I think CeeDee Lamb is kind of at his peak value, probably ever. Like, I don't see him ever jumping into the top 2 wide receivers. And I mean, he's kind of been hovering in that 3 to 5 range this offseason. So I have moved him a fair amount this year and been happy with it for the most part. So, like, I just feel like the points he's going to get you versus the points that you get from another wide receiver kind of in that a tier below him isn't going to be that big of a difference. So I get there's some fandom going on in this trade offer, so it's hard for you to kind of let go of CeeDee Lamb. It'd be the same thing as if I had Amon-Ra. It's just one of those things that, like, I'd rather have him than somebody that I don't really root for, and that's part of fantasy football. Some people do it as, like, I have to win constantly, and to me it's entertainment, because, like, the amount of time I spend on this on fantasy football, it's my entertainment dollar. And if I win 3 times my buy-ins, that's great, but at the end of the day, that's like 25 cents an hour. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I spend so much fucking time on fantasy football, and I love it. So, like, part of that is having the players you like. And so not being a fan, I would totally be fine moving CeeDee Lamb and downgrading and getting picks. And maybe if you're confident in Amari having a good year, like, he had a great year last year, right? Like, I mean, very good, way better than we expected. And, if you think he's going to have another one of those, you can probably trade for him during the season and, probably make more than what you would with CeeDee Lamb alone. You know what I mean? Like, if you basically be betting on Amari.
So just to let you know, Bill. Sorry, wrong one. Jesse sent us this trade, so he's trying to let you know it's a great offer. He also wants you to know you're very smart.
Oh, jeez.
I think he may be trying to.
He hasn't been watching this very long, then.
He's trying to, contaminate the witness here, but my issue with it. So I looked at that team. The first we're getting is probably a mid to late first. This is a 14-team league as well, so I would say this pick is probably ending up somewhere in probably in that 8 to 10 range. So if it was someone younger than Amari Cooper, and yes, possibly he balls out and we can trade him later on down the road, but I don't always like to bank on that.
Well, and if you're in a rebuild year, do you really want to be adding points with the hope that you can flip Amari? So, right. Like, what sort of level of player would you need if you were going to get the 24 first, 25 second plus? Like, what type of player? Like Elijah Moore?
Well, that's funny. It's funny you say that because he has both Elijah Moore and Amari Cooper. So I would prefer Elijah Moore. And I if I were countering this on my own, I'd probably ask for. He's got another 25 second.
Yeah, I think I would need more than just Elijah Moore, but I think like what you're saying, that Elijah Moore and another second is something that I would a first 2 seconds in Elijah Moore.
Mm-hmm.
That seems reasonable. So, yeah, I mean, that's interesting that I picked him out of and he's on his roster. So hey, maybe you guys can make something work.
So
right
Jesse,
now, let's go.
We'll that's our counter. We'll send it to you official through MFL. But
I'm reading
that is our
Dancer comment.
Yes. I will end by playing Tiny Dancer. Don't you worry. I'm very skilled with the keys. But that's it. That's it for us. Fellas, I want to say thank you for both of you coming on. This is always so much fun. I say this all the time when people talk to me about this. I just want it to be friends talking fantasy. We don't have a very strict, detailed, lineup of we got to talk about these points. We just want to talk about what's going on. Try to help as many people out as we can. All of the trades that I got were great because we got to sit down. A lot of them involved some combination of the three of us. So it was very, very relevant to all of us. But again, this was a ton of fun. So I appreciate you guys. And Drew, I'll let you say a couple words to wrap up. And then Bill, I'll let you say a couple words to wrap up.
Only thing I've got to say is counter has been sent.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Counter has been set. Bill, what do you got?
So I guess we'll try to do this a little more frequently, right? We'll see how it goes.
Some combination.
It's not necessarily going to be, consistent with all of us, but I actually really enjoyed tonight because it felt like more of a conversation than, maybe when we do the more structured, we're pulling all the tweets and we're, doing all that. It's this to me is more is fun. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I enjoy us bouncing ideas and talking this way. And, kind of I think if we do this, I'm going to, I'll be on a lot of the shows.
for sure. And that's kind of what I was looking at when I was trying to structure the show. I'll put that in quotes, was just kind of hey, let's talk through the important news. We had a couple questions, which was great. And then, hey, we get trades, man. I mean, all three of us get trades. And it's fun to talk through them because sometimes you're sitting there and you're going, even that trade that we started out with, Malik Davis and Peyton Hendershot for a fourth, that's a trade you sit there, you look at and you go, I could go either way on this. Are either one of those players going to send my team to a championship? Most likely not. But it's still kind of those deals. Get yourself a little bit of depth, those kind of things. So That was a lot of fun. And I think in future episodes, oh, wait a minute. Oh, sorry to cut it off here. We got an accepted. So
that's fun.
Jesse, thank you obviously for accepting the deal. But Bill, thank you for the idea, because I know one thing I struggle with personally, and this is something that we all talk about. We all talk about the things that we're weak in this game, is crafting those counters. God, what do I add? Obviously I want to get good value, but I also don't want to be, that guy who's saying, well, I need, T. Higgins and another first on top of the first. I don't want to be that guy. So there's, kind of a fine line, and it's something that I'm weak at. So having you here and saying, hey, what about Elijah Moore, which just so happened to work out, and we got a deal done, which always feels good. A little dopamine.
Yeah, I mean, and I know that Jesse probably feels great just because, like, you're giving up a lot of, like, kind of quarters, for
Yes.
$1, and so you get to condense, and that's great. But then you guys kind of in a rebuild, it's nice to have all those assets so it just works out, for where you guys are both at. So, yeah, fun stuff. So,
and when Elijah Moore scores more points than CeeDee Lamb, we'll look like geniuses. So it works out all around. But so on the way out, again, one last time, thank you guys both. Really appreciate it. And thank you to everybody in the chat, man. I think what made this show fun was, along with the format, was the chat, man.
Agreed.
Puff Pack Kick was in here. Jesse Schott was in here. We had Zach Reed earlier, Eitan Moja in here earlier, just Bob Gilchrist, a lot of eclectic group of people. It was fun because a lot of the trades that I mentioned were with people in the chat. So that makes it fun as well, having the back and forth. And obviously, we got a trade done with Jesse because he was in the chat, and we were able to bounce the idea, send it to him. He said, man, that sounds good to me, and accepted it. So we got a deal done on the air, which is always a great feeling. So on that note, thank you to the chat. Thank you to you guys. Thank you to everyone who's going to listen to this in podcast form or watch the replay on YouTube. And we are going to get out of here.
Late.